Caregiver arrested in spending spree with debit card of dementia patient. Villager free on bond in sex abuse case, jailed again in an alleged attack on his ex-girlfriend. A 72-year-old Village of Hawkins man jailed after violating probation in a DUI case. Man in golf cart is sought after an alleged attack in the Villages. Venezuelan riding an unregistered moped arrested near the village of McClure. Apartments will soon be ready for occupancy at the Spanish Springs Town Square. Patient lifts his gown while jingling his genitals at the village's hospital. A villager facing child porn charges released after judge drastically reduces his bond. Villager suspected of driving impaired refuses to give urine sample after a crash. A chase of stolen car ends in a capture of suspects at the Delmar Gate in the Villages. 72-year-old Villager of Hawkins resident jailed after violating a probation in a DUI case. A massive new recreation center taking shape at Eastport. Tim Tebow's night to shine coming to a church in the Villages. Diverse dragon boaters feeling fit and right at home at Lake Meona. How many holes in ones of golf do we get this week? Letters to the editor. This and more coming up. A patient was arrested after lifting his gown and jingling his genitals while standing at the entrance of U.S. Health, the Villages Hospital. Oh, God. We have them, folks. Just because this is a retirement community, we have them. And we don't know if this guy's from the Villages either. The hospital's open to anybody. Darren Malinsky, 51, who had been discharged from the hospital, but was still wearing his gown when he was standing at the entrance at about 6:30 a.m. Saturday, according to an arrest report from the Sumter County Sheriff's Department. He lifted his gown, showing his penis and testicles, and was asking passerbys to check his balls. Good Lord. A woman who was visiting the hospital was among those to whom Malinsky exposed himself, according to the report. Some of the witnesses interviewed by the deputies said Malinsky, who stands 5 feet 7 inches tall and weighs 230 pounds, was jingling his genitals when he lifted the gown. The arrest report listed Malinsky as homeless, but records indicate he previously lived with his 85-year-old father in the Villages. Malinsky was arrested on a charge of indecent exposure and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. Bond was set at $1,000. A villager free on bond in a sexual battery case has been jailed again in an alleged attack on his ex-girlfriend at her apartment. Thomas Joseph Culver, 53, who lives in the village of Silver Lake, was arrested in the early morning hours Saturday after attacking the woman at the Mark Apartments in Oxford. Culver showed up at his ex-girlfriend's apartment and began knocking, demanding she open the door and let him inside. She refused, so he began to knock on the door more aggressively. She finally let him in. Big mistake, because she was afraid he was making a scene. Let me stop right there. You should never let him in. I don't care. You know what his history is. Why didn't you just call 911 right away, say, get somebody here right now? The Kansas City native immediately began, speaking of Kansas City Police Department hat right here. Thank you. Kansas City native immediately began calling her derogatory names and got into her face. She told him to leave, but he refused. They began to struggle, and she fell into the bookcase, injuring her back. He slapped her on the rear, grabbed her private area, and told her she was going to give him some one way or another. She attempted to scream for help, but Culver put his hands over her mouth and nose, making it difficult for her to breathe. He also tried to remove her clothing. You should have called your neighbors and stuff for help before you opened the door. Officers showed up at the apartment after the neighbor dialed 911. Culver told the officer nothing happened. He was arrested on felony charges of battery and false imprisonment. Keep him in jail. This guy either ain't got enough brains to straighten up or he just doesn't want to. A villager arrested last week after allegedly punching a female employee at Lake Sumter Landing restaurant also reportedly punched a host in another restaurant. Stephen Edward Serwo, 73, of the village of Tamarind Grove, was arrested on the night of January 23 after he went into the kitchen at Cody's Original Roadhouse and allegedly struck a female employee in the nose. The Boston native fled the restaurant. He was found walking near City Fire. The VillagesNews.com story of his first arrest was soon picked up by the Orlando media. Suwo phoned the sheriff's office on Monday night after apparently learning he was being sought in a second incident from January 23rd at Lake Sumter Landing. A host at another restaurant said that a customer walked up to him and struck him for no apparent reason. Deputies later reviewed video surveillance and arranged a photo lineup for the host. They picked out Serwo as his attacker. Serwo was arrested on a second charge of battery. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a measly $500 bond. 2 assaults on the same night, $500 bond, 10% out of his pocket, $50, and he's walking. Serwo has obtained a private attorney, and last week in Sumter County Court, they pled not guilty to the first battery charge. They always do. A villager free on bond in a hit-and-run case has been jailed after violating terms of her pretrial release. Jill Marie Mazzoni, 55, who lives in a home in the village of Glenbrook, contacted the Sumter County Sheriff's Office on Tuesday and indicated she wanted to turn herself in on a Sarasota County warrant. She was arrested at her home at 3433 Fairfield Street and booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. Mazzoni is facing charges of leaving the scene of a crash and driving under the influence with property damage. The warrant was issued after she violated her supervised pretrial release in that case. She was originally booked in Sarasota County in April 2023. The Sumter County Sheriff's Office is seeking a man in a golf cart after an alleged attack in the Villages. The man is suspected of committing a battery at 6:50 p.m. January 15 at the Circle K gas station off the Buenos Aires Boulevard and U.S. Highway 441. It's over by the historic site. He was driving a red and purple-collared Yamaha golf cart. Anyone with information about this case or who knows the identity of the pictured subject is asked to contact Detective Street at 352-793-2621 or to remain anonymous, contact Crime Line at 1-800-423-TIPS, 1-800-423-8477. Reference case number 24-290. I've been looking at this picture, and I don't know where I've seen that face before, but I've seen that face before. A Venezuelan riding an unregistered moped was arrested near the village of McClure. Jose Daniel Diaz Leal, 23, of Mount Dora, was riding the moped at 4:45 p.m. Tuesday when he failed to stop at a stop sign when merging onto Marshman Trail, according to the arrest report. An officer began following the moped and noticed it had a temporary tag. Diaz Leal was arrested on charges of driving without a license, operating an unregistered vehicle, and having a counterfeit license plate. He was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center on a $2,800 bond. Does this make any sense on these bonds? Different counties, I know, but $500 for striking 2 people. $2,800 for driving a moped that's got no license plate on it, basically, unregistered. It appears that the apartments will soon be ready for occupancy at Spanish Springs Town Square. In case you guys don't know, if you're new to following my channel, this has been a big controversy for several years now. The Town of Lady Lake Building Department this week conducted its final inspections at the Van Patten House Loft Apartments. All inspections were passed, and the certificates of occupancy will be issued in the coming days. It's not known what the rental rates are going to be, but the lofts at Brownwood, the low end of the rate card, is a studio apartment renting for $1,675 per month. The Village's desire to put apartments in at the former home of Katie Bell's has been a sore point with many longtime residents. Yes, it has. And me too. It was a slap in the face as far as I'm concerned. In 2022, the Lady Lake Commission voted 3-2 to reject the Village's plan for apartments at the Van Patten House. However, within days of that meeting, Commissioner Ed Freeman contacted the town's attorney and admitted he had misgivings about his vote due to the likelihood of a lawsuit by the Villages. Ultimately, Freeman changed his vote, providing the margin of victory for the Villages. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? Good old boy system? I changed my mind. A A villager facing a multitude of charges of possession of child pornography was released after months in jail when a judge drastically reduced his bond. Gary Paul Schlesinski, 69, of the village of Sanibel, had been in the Sumter County Detention Center since August 31 on 30 counts of possession of pornographic images of a child. The images included boys and girls, some as young as 4. The children were in graphic sexual situations, including with adults and with sex toys. Schlesinski had originally been arrested in March after a search warrant was served at his home at 856 Abaco Path. The former Connecticut resident was initially charged with 2 counts of transmitting child pornography. He was released on a $4,000 bond at that time. His electronic devices were seized, and forensic examinations led to 30 additional charges. After his second arrest, he was booked on $450,000 bond. That was $15,000 for each count. He remained in jail throughout the holiday season. Judge Mary Hatcher on January 17 signed off a request to lower Schlesinski's bond to $240,000 or $8,000 per count. Schlesinski was able to raise the money post-bond and was released January 26th from jail. Conditions of his bonds dictate that he cannot have contact with minors and must wear a GPS monitor. Schlesinski and his wife bought their home in the Villages in 2012 for $176,000. This past August, they put their home in a trust. Smart move. The Villages is planning extensive renovations to 2 golf courses. Bids will be due February 22nd for the renovations at the Amberwood and Chula Vista Executive Golf Courses. A mandatory pre-bid meeting was held January 2. Projects could cost up to $450,000, and Chula Vista Swimming Pools is also on tap for major renovations, although not all residents are happy with the plan for the pool renovation. A 72-year-old villager has been jailed without bond after violating her probation in a drunk driving case. Are you guys getting the point yet? This is why I tell you to be very careful when you come here in the wintertime. Are you seeing why I'm telling you that? Kathy Ann Oldham of the village of Hawkins was booked Thursday at the Sumter County Detention Center. She was placed on probation last year after pleading no contest to a charge of driving under the influence. She lost her driver's license for 6 months and was ordered to perform 80 hours of community service. Oldham was driving a tan 2004 Chrysler PT Cruiser at about 4 p.m. December 9, 2022 in the vicinity of Fraser Way and Josephine Court, not far from her home at Goodman Court, when a 911 caller reported an intoxicated subject in a vehicle, according to the arrest report. The caller said the vehicle was driving in a reckless manner, struck a curb, and almost hit a golf cart. An officer who spoke to Kenneth City, Colorado native found that she had bloodshot, watery eyes and a slurred speech. She was unable to maintain her balance and appeared to be disoriented. Oldman, who claimed she was COVID-19 positive, said she consumed 2 glasses of wine at lunch. She agreed to participate in field sobriety exercises but nearly fell over multiple times. She claimed it was the COVID-19 which made her impaired. She provided breath samples that registered .172 and .164 blood alcohol content. Why would you be out running around if you knew you had COVID? A massive new recreation center is taking shape at the Eastport Town Center in the Villages. The Olympia Recreation Center will feature a gymnasium for indoor pickleball, basketball, volleyball, and even a rock climbing wall. The outdoor amenities will include a Farragut softball complex, pickleball, and sports pool, and a dog park. Also coming to Eastport is the Salacus Recreation Center, the Moultrie Creek Recreation Center, Boosters Bar and Grill, Shallow Creek Championship Golf Course Club, and a pro shop. They'll get there. It takes time. A Night to Shine is an unforgettable prom night experience centered on God's love for people with special needs ages 14 and older. On one night for the past 10 years, and on February 9 this year, 500-plus churches from around the world in over 30 countries will host Night to Shine for over 100,000 honored special needs guests with the support of 175,000 volunteers. Tim Tebow, Night to Shine Prom is coming to the Villages this Friday for the first time. This year, more than 100 special guests will celebrate Prom Night 2024 right here in the Villages at the new Covenant United Methodist Church, thanks to Pastor Harold Hendren and over 250 volunteers. The Villages is the largest retirement community in the world and has a thriving number of families living here, full-time and part-time, that have special needs, adult sons, daughters, sisters, brothers, and other family members. Until this year, these special individuals have had to travel to other communities around Florida to participate in a Night to Shine prom. Upon arrival, the honored guests will receive royal treatment, including a ride in a classic car to the red carpet, where they will be welcomed by a crowd of cheerleaders, local athletes, and many others, including the paparazzi. At that time, they will also be introduced to their prom buddy, who will be their escort for the evening. Once inside, the honored guests will have their photos taken, given corsages and boutonnieres, dinner, and other prom favors, and of course, a night of dance to one of the Village's favorite groups, Blonde Ambition. The highlight of the evening comes when every one of the Night to Shine special guests is crowned a king or queen of the prom. Definitely a night to remember. I still remember my prom, do you? A caregiver has been charged with going on a spending spree with the debit card of a dementia patient. Sandra Jean Yeager, 54, had been caring for a dementia patient living at a home in the village of Citrus Grove. The man's son told police his father's condition has deteriorated to the point he can't operate a television remote and can no longer operate his cell phone. Beginning in October and continuing through the end of December, Yeager went on a spending spree with the man's debit card. She rang up $3,486 in purchases at Walmart in the Villages and Ocala, the Fruitland Smoke Shop, and the Wild City Smoke in Wildwood. It appears she was also using his debit card to pay her phone bill. When interviewed by the police, Yeager admitted she had used the man's debit card without prior approval. However, she claims she only purchased a few items. She was arrested on felony charges of theft and exploitation of the elderly. She was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $2,500 bond. A villager suspected of driving impaired refused to provide urine sample after a crash at Lake Deaton Plaza. Dawn Marie DuPont, 59, of the village of Rio Grande, was driving a white Ford Explorer when she was involved in a two-car crash about 4 p.m. Thursday, according to the arrest report. The other driver told the deputies he thought DuPont appeared to be impaired. When a deputy spoke to DuPont, she was irritable and hyperactive. The Massachusetts native complained about a ring and how the jewelry store had messed up. DuPont indicated she had taken a pill but changed her statement with regard to the dosage. She performed poorly in field sobriety exercises. She provided a breath sample that measured .000 blood alcohol content. She refused to provide a urine sample. She was arrested on a charge of driving under the influence. She was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center and released after posting a $500 bond. The analysis of a blood test has led to the arrest of a villager who fell from a golf cart at a country club. Jennifer Lynn Ducat, 55, of the village of Bonnybrook, was arrested Saturday on a warrant charging her with driving under the influence. The dispatch center of the Sumter County Sheriff's Office received a report on the night of September 22 of a drunk driver who had fallen out of her cart at Palmer's Legends Country Club. Great country club, I like it. Pricey, though. A deputy spotted a golf cart after it left the country club and was traveling on Belvedere Boulevard, according to the arrest report. The golf cart's headlights and taillights were not illuminated. The traffic stop was initiated in the area of Belvedere Boulevard and Castleberry Circle. When a deputy approached Ducat, he noticed that her eyes were bloodshot and her words were slurred. Because the original report referenced a fall, the village's public safety department was summoned to the scene to evaluate Ducat. While she was in the ambulance, a blood sample was taken. The sample was sent for analysis to the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. In December, the FDLE returned the analysis, which showed that on the night Ducat had a presence of ethyl alcohol with a quantitative value of 0.399 grams per 100 milligrams of blood. A warrant was issued for the cat's arrest. Following her arrest this past week, she was booked at the Sumter County Detention Center. She was released after posting a $750 bond. Dragon boaters are feeling fit and right at home at Lake Meona. In 2022, the Sumter County Commission granted dragon boaters permission to train at the lake adjacent to the villages. The support has helped enthusiasts like the Heat Dragon Boat Club pursue their passion and paddle to new heights. The Heat Dragon Boat Club is made up of a diverse mix of men and women athletes ranging in ages of 25 and 85. The club has more than 80 members. The majority of the Heaters reside in the villages. Heat athletes also come from surrounding counties and cities: Ocala, Leesburg, Orlando, Jacksonville, and Tampa. The Heat also attracts athletes from across the country. Athletes from California, Iowa, New Jersey, Washington, D.C., North Carolina, Tennessee, Maryland regularly make a trek to Central Florida to train with the Heat. Heat has earned a reputation around the world for developing top dragon boat athletes. In 2023, 12 Heaters made the Team USA and competed and won a gold medal at the World Championships in Thailand. Heat offers recreational and competitive opportunities for its members. The coaches are Pat and Liz Bradley. Pat is a former Team Canada Dragon Boat athlete and coach, having won multiple national and world championships between 2007 and 2013. Liz is former Team Canada athlete, also with multiple world championships. Pat and Liz have been with Team USA since 2017, Pat as head coach, Liz as athlete and coach. The Bradleys, with Conrad Dornbecker, developed and teach the United States Dragon Boat Federation Pan Am Dragon Boat Coaching Certification Training Program. A man and a woman are facing felony charges as the result of a dramatic chase that ended at the Del Mar Gate in the Villages. Alfred Jr. Woods, 40, of Tavares, and Audrey Lee Burris, 28, of Lake City, were taken into custody Friday after stop sticks were used to puncture their two front tires of their stolen green Kia Soul. Several units from the Marion County Sheriff's Office, including a helicopter, joined in a pursuit that began across the county line and ended at about 10 a.m. near Spanish Springs Town Square. The car was reportedly stolen sometime Thursday from Nicole's store at Lady Lake Crossing. The stolen car was apparently taken to Marion County and was heading back to the Villages the following day during the pursuit. Woods and Lee are both facing felony charges of fleeing and elude law enforcement officers and misdemeanor charges of resisting arrest. They were being held on a $6,000 bond each at the Lake County Jail. Burris and Woods each served 3 days in the Lake County Jail in January after stealing a drone from a Walmart in Claremont. Woods with another woman in March 2023 when they were arrested after attempting to cash a bogus check at a bank in Lady Lake. Let's see how many holes in ones of golf we got this week. Looks like only one reported. Lou Rensselaer got a hole-in-one at Richmond hole number 1 on January 26th. That's all I got. Well, congratulations on your hole-in-one. Letters to the editor. To the editor, the Villages is a really good place to live, but the changes are scary. The security is non-existent. The gates are a joke. What good are the gates if anybody from outside the Villages can get in? It seems that people running things now are only concerned about the money we will pay to live here. I never thought things would change to this level. That's sent in by Michael Shemansky from the village of Tamarind Grove. Thank you, Michael. To the editor. I'm so tired of people complaining about the gates here. The reason for the gates is clearly misunderstood. They are not for security per se, but to slow cars down so that golf carts can cross. I'm grateful for them myself. That's sent in by Michelle Utter from the village of Sanibel. Well, thank you, Michelle. You are exactly right. For waiting for the gates, the cars would run over a golf cart every day. To the editor. I regularly submit golf requests, and I've noticed that the pitch and putt courses always have openings. I'm of the opinion that they are not that popular. Would it be prudent to quit issuing a point for using such courses and make them a first come, first serve? I would golf them, but I don't want or need the point associated with the play. I get shut out way too often the way it is. That's sent in by Don Nangle from the village of St. John's. Well, Don, if what you say is true, that's not a bad idea. I respectfully have to disagree with you on popularity of it because I read the news every day, and it looks like to me the pitch and putts are doing pretty good. They may not be as popular as, say, an executive course, but that's maybe the reason why there's openings. But pitch and putts are generally designed to get people started into the game of golf. They'll go from the pitch and putt to the executive course to the country clubs. Basically, that's how they see it working. But, I think it's pretty popular. Well, with that being said, I'm going to get out of here. If you're not a Patreon member, I'd appreciate it if you would consider it. It starts out at $2 a month. You'll get everything there commercial free. You'll get everything there early. By the time you see this, my Patreon members has already seen it commercial free. And we have our own private Discord for our members. It's open 24/7 to all of our members. There's people on there, not all the time, but they come and they go. They're there, they're gone, and you can use it, for your own purposes. So with that being said, I'll see you Wednesday for porch setting. For those of you that are new, if you don't know what porch setting is, my wife and I, Sue, we will be live at noon every Wednesday. We've been doing it now for, I think, right at 3 years. You can ask anything you want. You can comment about anything you want, and you can get on there and chat with all the people that's on the chat. Some of you has listened to my little complaint I made on last porch setting. About 60% of you watching the videos or watching the shows are not subscribed. I checked it early this morning to see where we're at. We're down to 50%. So apparently a good chunk of you have found out that you were unsubscribed. And the rest of you, I beg you, check. Make sure you're subscribed. Because 50% of you, that means half of the viewers of my videos are not subscribed. So that being said, I'll see you all on the other side.
And don't leave your keys in the golf cart.